A man who knows more than a thing or two about jobs, and of course our economy, the Treasurer of Victoria, Tim Pallas MP. Welcome, Tim.
Well, thanks very much. I am really excited to actually see real people. This is the first time they've let me out in polite company, and I'm thrilled to be here to talk about a budget that I have great pride in. This budget really responds to the scale of the challenge presented by the coronavirus pandemic by investing up to $49 billion in the things that matter to Victorians. We're able to do this as a result of the government's sound financial management over the past 6 years. And we're projecting an operating deficit of $23.3 billion this year, forecast progressively to reduce by about 75% to $5.9 billion in 3 years' time. So we're not alone in our fiscal approach. We're all Keynesians here today, I'm sure. In fact, our fiscal approach is broadly comparable to the Commonwealth governments. And I've got to say, at one stage I did say to the Federal Treasurer, are you sure what political party you belong to? Because certainly they're all born again Keynesians at the moment. In fact, our fiscal approach is very much aimed at complementing what the Commonwealth are doing. Now that doesn't mean that it's all beer and skittles and we get on swimmingly. I think you've grown up enough to know that there is a bit of policy tension goes on from time to time, but we've got to put that behind us and we've got to get on with the task in front of us, because too much is demanded of us from the community to make this work. In 2020-21, Victoria is forecasting a general government operating deficit equivalent to 34.9% of total revenue. Now that's considerably less than the Commonwealth equivalent. I think by the end of this economic event, we'll see debt as a percentage of gross state product hit around about 29%. If you look at the Commonwealth equivalent, you'll see that their debt will come in around about 44% of the size of the national economy. So we're still going to be a lot better off than the Commonwealth are, but I suppose the broad observation is we're seeing our debt profile increase by about the same as the Commonwealth's, about 20% of the size of our respective economies. Supporting our workers is key to, of course, Victoria's successful economic recovery. As well as providing tax incentives to help business create jobs, the government is making significant investments to boost workforce participation and, most importantly, to support vulnerable workers. We're investing $1 billion in Victoria's TAFE and training sectors, which includes up to 80,000 new subsidised training and TAFE-free places. A further $619 million for Jobs for Victoria. That's going to extend Jobs Victoria services. It'll help Victorians into work. It'll support at least 10,000 work placements where the state actually subsidises the wages of those people looking to get back into the labour market communities. By clicking for Vic, Victorians will be connected to online offerings from Victorian Country Market, Providore, CoLab, Pantry and many more. Also, every year I have a habit of providing a Treasurer's Budget charity. I know these have been difficult years for all Victorians, particularly for our charities. I make a personal contribution. I was one stage accused of using taxpayers' money. That's not true. It's out of my own pocket, and it's there for a good reason, to basically show that we are all in this together and we've got to help those who need help most dramatically. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you today.
To present to the Wangaratta Chamber of Commerce last night, and they actually made note of the digital fund that's there, and they're very grateful for that as well, because as you just said, not everywhere in Victoria is served by the same level of broadband or cellular network. I tried to fix the Vodafone one when I was there. Have you got a view in terms of what the Cremorne precinct could look like?
Well, Cremorne's a funny place. Government goes around making plans, and then Cremorne comes along in many ways. This was what tells us it's the best and most exciting thing about people in the startup and the IT section really do. They're entirely ungovernable. And that's a good thing. What it demonstrates is they voted with their feet. They found an area of centre of excellence. So I think I would be a bit presumptive to tell you what I think it's going to be, because I can tell you with a fair degree of certainty, I don't know. They're building it, and we're just watching it and trying to facilitate it.
Brilliant. There's no doubt the visitor economy was one of the hardest hits. We've got Jeremy Johnson here, who chaired the Australian Chamber's visitor task force. We've got Julia Swanson here as well, who looks after the major events, bringing them to the state from a business perspective. You talked a little bit about the visitor economy in the budget. There's a fair portion of money in there. Can you give us a bit more detail in relation to that?
Yeah, I think $426 million thereabouts that we've put aside to the visitor economy. We put an amount in there, a very large amount by comparison to historical expenditure around our event strategies, recognising that we have seen a bit of adventurism coming from our interstate colleagues who are pretty keen to capitalise on Victoria's difficulties at the moment and capture some of our major events. We're not going to let them get away with it, put simply. Yes, it's going to be a difficult time, I think, to sort of advertise to people that Victoria's open again, and all those cruel and heartless jokes about sick Victoria, we're going to have to knock them on the head and demonstrate that we're open and well and truly available for business.
We're back. We're re-energised, we're rebuilding, we're reopened, and I think the rest of Australia should just watch out. And I think you've set us on a good path. Thank you. Now, if you just carry me down off here, we'll be good.